Have you ever wanted to buy a house with a pool, particularly in a more northern climate like somewhere in Canada? Particularly today, I'm going to talk about Winnipeg, but stay tuned for some key considerations that you need to make when purchasing a home with a pool. Hi, I'm Jennifer Queen with the Jennifer Queen team and RE/MAX Professionals here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and today I am talking about a topic that seems to be coming up more and more, particularly since COVID began. Pre-COVID, I found that homes with pools would either sell at somewhat of a discount actually in Winnipeg, or even kind of just on par with the comparable properties in the area. They would never sell at a premium. However, the advent of COVID and when people could no longer travel to go to their lakefront, waterfront properties or even more tropical areas, it seemed like these homes started to sell at a serious premium, and that still remains the case today. Right now, I'm recording this, it is the dead of winter. I think it is actually minus 40 degrees outside, and we have had some crazy bidding wars just recently. I think there was 18 offers on one house the other night, and I think there's another 23 on another property that's still not at their final offer count for tonight. So homes with pools coming in high demand. Think about that. Think about how you can't even inspect a pool right now because they are snow covered and frozen. So yeah, I'm going to talk about some key items you need to keep in mind when you are looking at these homes, purchasing these homes, as well as the ongoing maintenance of them. The first thing I want you to think about is that balancing a pool is a true science. Literally. If you hire a pro, you will see them come out, they will have their little pH test sticks and they will very diligently keep the pH levels within the pool at certain levels. There are other considerations to make too. If you're doing it on your own, that's great. A lot of the time what I say is maybe for that first season, if you've never owned a pool before, hire a company, have them teach you, walk you through the process so that you know what you're doing moving forward. But I would definitely recommend professional services for at least that first year because there's a lot to keep in mind. There's an opening pool sequence, there's a closing pool sequence. Both of those have some significant steps along the way that you need to observe and keep in mind for when you're trying to do it yourself. Also, if you've had a stretch of long, hot temperatures, a lot of the time your pool will require more chemicals. If you've had a large gathering, more people in your pool, this is gross, but likely some kids in there urinating, there's going to be additional balancing of that pool that is required. It's a constant ongoing process and something you need to keep an eye on, because once your pool, as pool owners often say, turns, you know, where it gets that kind of gross green, it's really hard to bring it back. So ongoing maintenance and balancing of that pool is a science, and it's a science that needs to be practiced regularly. In addition to that maintenance, there's ongoing daily maintenance that you're going to want to do as well. Whether it just be something as simple as scooping leaves out, or purchasing a pool vacuum that kind of goes around in the bottom and removes debris. The extent of which you are going to have to do these secondary measures. If you're surrounded by a lot of trees with leaves that fall into the pool, you're obviously going to have a lot more maintenance. There are also ongoing maintenance costs that you need to associate with that pool. So I talked already about the opening and closing of the pool. Other considerations are filling the pool. You fill it once, that initial time when it's built, and then you fill it. Most people are advised here in Manitoba, because of our ground and the structure, that the dirt pushes against the walls of the pool. We are actually recommended to keep a certain water level within the pool at all times, even in the winter. So you'll take a little bit of water out, but then let the rest freeze, hold that pool and its walls in place against the pushing dirt all around it. But then you'll have that additional top-up amount in the summer, as well as throughout the summer. You're going to be constantly adding water back into that pool. You're also going to have heat costs that come with heating that water, which brings me into the next point, is you need to know what kind of heat system your pool has. There's really two options in Manitoba that work. The first is a typical kind of furnace. It is gas fired usually. You'll see them outside. They'll have the little chimneys above their little gas combustion engines. But what those do are they use natural gas to pump heat into your pool, similar to how a furnace works, but obviously the delivery is a little different. The second option though is called a heat pump. So a heat pump actually, it's similar to a geothermal loop theory, is my understanding of it anyways, is that it takes the ambient air temperature and kind of converts it into heat and redistributes it into the pool. So let's talk about the differences between the two. So the first one I talked about, which was the gas heater, is more expensive to run. You are paying natural gas costs to heat an entire pool to whatever degree you set it at throughout the summer. So keep in mind that there will be an ongoing fee associated with that in terms of natural gas. The heat pump system does tend to be less expensive to run. It does not use gas. It is using ambient air temperature, redistributing it. It's a very efficient system. The issue though with the ambient temperature is that once you find the temperature in the evening starting to dip between 12 degrees Celsius, then that heater is not collecting enough heat through the evening to redistribute to the pool, and it's unable to keep the pool heated for that long. So what you'll find is that pools in Winnipeg that have that heat pump heating system do have a shorter use period. They're usually only used June, July, August, whereas ones that have the heater where an owner can, or the gas heater I should say, where the owner can come crank the heat on to whatever temperature they desire, those can be used anywhere from really June, May, even depending on if you're having nice summer days and want to get out there, to September. So it does extend the amount of time throughout the year that you can use the pool. I actually had some really fun clients that had a pool heater that they would turn on, a gas one obviously, and they would turn it on and have like a St. Patrick's Day party in March usually. And they said they would turn it on, heat up the ice, get the pool so that it was pumping and actually like steaming, and they would have a huge party. People would come jump in their pool. I think they said their gas bill that month would be like $800 or something crazy, but for them it was worth it. They like to have these huge parties in March, so it was kind of a cool experience to see. Pools attract many people, and young children are no exception. So you want to be as diligent as you possibly can about this pool to limit any liability from harm from children or other adults becoming harmed on your property. Having locked gates and doors with padlocks is important. I see this a lot on the homes I'm showing. Our owners will have a padlock on the gate or a key code that you have to enter to get in. And that's just to keep those areas locked from some young child wandering in because they know there's a pool there. There's also some great products that you can use, say in the winter months when you aren't using the pool, but perhaps because of snow cover, you can't tell that there's a dip in the lawn. There's covers that actually advertise an elephant standing on them. They're so substantial, and you can actually walk across these pools when this pool cover is installed. There's also another unique product too that I should mention for use obviously in the summer, and I'll link it below because I thought it was really cool when my own client introduced me to it, but it was called Protect a Child fencing. And it's kind of like, it's a movable fence. It's similar almost to like a baby gate system that you kind of install along the pool, but then it forms a nice little secure area right around the water that can be removed easily or left up quite easily. And it's strong enough to keep young children out. And then it has gates you can enter too, so that you still can access the pool, but it's a second barrier for young children if they're running out there. It's called Protect a Child, I believe, and I'll link that below. The last and final consideration that you're going to want to keep in mind is that pool replacement systems can be quite costly. And what I mean by that is, say for instance, the liner in your pool starts to go. That is something that there are some quick fixes that you can do, kind of like putties, to protect it for an initial period. But over time, what you are going to find is that that is not a solution that can hold for an incredibly long period of time, and that the liner of the pool does need to be replaced. I have heard quotes anywhere from as low as $6,000 all the way up to $15,000 for a brand new pool liner. So it's a huge expense, and it's something that has to be done, I'd say, every decade or so. So depending on how long ago your pool's liner was last redone, will depend on when you need to redo it again. Of course, there's some liners that are, say, lighter in color. They actually tend to last longer because they absorb less sunlight, but liners that are darker in color take a little bit more of a beating from the sun, and do tend to have shorter periods of time. So it's just something to keep in mind that liners are a big expense, and they're something that regularly do have to get done, because once that water starts getting in behind the liner, your actual pool structure can get absolutely destroyed here. And I will say too, I've seen liners that were 20 years old and in great shape. So it really does depend on the maintenance, use, and color of those liners. But it's something to keep an eye on when you're doing that initial pool inspection. Another major component that can go within your pool is a skimmer, and a lot of the time you have to remove the liner to get at the skimmer, so it's a huge task. So just some considerations, like if you're replacing your liner, maybe talk to the pool company about the skimmer too, because that cost isn't so substantial unless you all of a sudden have to replace the skimmer instead, and then the liner as a result. So you might as well do both at the same time. So how do you protect yourself when you're buying a home with a pool? Here are some key considerations you should be making when you're making these offers. So if you are buying a home with a pool and it's winter like it is now, there are specific clauses that your realtor can structure that allow for a holdback and inspection period of the pool come the spring months. It essentially says something to the effect of, the seller agrees to this amount of money to be held back from the purchase until this date, provided the purchaser is able to get their own inspector in through the property and verify if any repairs are required. And if so, they can be deducted from this price up to a certain amount, is typically how it's written. It's wordy, it's legal, but it's a clause that we insert, and obviously it's a little bit more professional sounding when I write it into a contract, but essentially that's what that clause is getting at. If you are buying in the summer, have a thorough inspection done of that pool. That doesn't necessarily mean one done by a home inspector. A lot of home inspectors don't necessarily specialize in pools. It's good to get a company out from a pool service company to come take a look at it. If you need any recommendations, let me know. I know a few really good guys that do pool repair and have been in the majority of the pools within the city already. Also, get that maintenance history of the pool. I have been in homes that had pools that were 44 years old. The owners installed it when they moved in, and they installed it for $6,000 or $7,000 too, nonetheless, if only. But anyways, and they have used that pool for years and years, and it is in impeccable condition because they have properly maintained it. They had great records in their case. They could establish all of the professional maintenance through the years and balancing, and knew the pool inside out. But having that list of records really will give you that peace of mind, and knowing that the pool has been properly maintained and it's not just an owner guessing at the chemical levels, etc. So get that pool maintenance history. It's really important. And also be sure to get proper training on the pool and how to maintain it. Like I said earlier, if that means hiring a company at the very beginning of your ownership just to learn how to open the pool, close the pool, maintain the pool through the summer, that's fine as long as you are doing it properly. But maintaining it properly is what's ultimately going to extend the lifetime and lifespan of the pool and its components. And just a word or two in closing from personal experience. The cost to add a pool in Winnipeg typically begins at around $50,000. And this is for the smaller size, more basic pool, of 15 by 30-ish size pool. It goes upwards from there. If your yard is going to need a significant amount of landscaping, if it's on a slope or anything like that, increase that budget easily by 20 to 50%. Honestly, it goes up quite substantially if you need a lot of landscaping done. And keep in mind that typically, except for these last few years, you are not ever going to recoup that money when you are selling that home with a pool. If history has proven anything, it is that Winnipeggers in typical times do not want to spend any extra money on a home with a pool. COVID really was the exception. And it makes sense, like we have a very short pool period here in Winnipeg. So just know that if you're putting that money in to have a pool built in your backyard, there's nothing wrong with it, as long as you're going to live there for many years to come and get the enjoyment out of it from your family. But ultimately, it is not going to increase the value of your home when you go to resell it. So if you're thinking it'll increase your resale value, you are probably wrong. Sorry to tell you. I say this all from experience because Logan and I are installing a pool in our yard. We've jumped on the bandwagon. We put a deposit in to build our pool in 2021, and we were lucky to get on the list for 2022. So I say all this, and we've made the same key considerations as well. It seems sacrilege for two realtors to make an investment in their home that is not going to increase the resale value. But for us, this was our forever home. We intend on living here for many years to come. Our children are young at the time of filming this, 6, 3, and 1. So there's going to be many years of enjoying this pool as a family. So for us, it is worth it. But yes, think of your own situation. If you're in your current home for less than 5, even 10 years, you might want to do a double take on that before you go ahead and put that pool in. But that's just my own 2 cents. And thanks again, guys, for watching. I really appreciate you watching my videos. It might just be my own family watching them at this point, but I really do appreciate you watching. If you found value in this video today, please hit that like button below. It does help me in deciding what to come up with for next time. And if you're enjoying our channel, please be sure to subscribe so that you see our future content. I'm Jennifer Queen with the Jennifer Queen team, RE/MAX Professionals here in Winnipeg. If you are looking for a house with a pool here, please feel free to reach out. We do specialize in homes with pools and are quite confident in buying and selling homes with pools. So we would be happy to help you in your search. Contact information is in the comment section below. Take care, guys.